Commercial actually picked me. So when I graduated high school, I was dating a girl, and I had started to go to school to be a state police officer here in Pennsylvania. I had just signed up for college and was in my first semester, and she said to me, "Hey, we're going to my rich uncle's house for Christmas this year. I have another dream to be a state police officer, so I'm going to pursue that, but thank you." And he said, "Well, why don't you work for us on the weekends?" He said, I'll pay you cash, you can sweep up the jobs, kind of clean up. And that intrigued me. Again, I didn't come from anything, and I thought, okay, I'm going to college, I could use a couple extra bucks. So right after the new year, I started on a Saturday. I did like fitness, so I thought, okay, at the very least, this is a nice opportunity to get a workout in and make a couple bucks. So I'm filling the trash barrel with the scraps of drywall, and I don't know how to break them to make them smaller, so they're sticking out of the trash can all wonky. I take the trash can out to the building, and I'm thinking, how am I getting this into this 30-yard dumpster? So I muscle that up, and drywall dust flies all over me and choking. I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? It's a challenge that I welcomed. Again, I like doing hard things, so I did welcome this. I had checked with all of his employees to make sure they would come over seamlessly with me, and they all did. So we had no turnover other than the owner himself leaving. So once I became the owner, I didn't initially make a mindset shift.
I don't know if I should call it niching down, but I've seen a lot of these projects on LinkedIn when you shared in your feed that you do medical practices, dental practices, feel like you're a go-to in that industry. How did that happen? How did you become the Jason of construction?
It's just that I wasn't amplifying that on social media.
And welcome to another episode of the Roofing Industry Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Jason with LK Miller. Jason, welcome. If you would like to introduce yourself to the audience and let us know about your company, your social media presence, your website, please go ahead.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jason Scholl, and I am the owner of LK Miller. We are a commercial general contractor. So we build and renovate commercial properties, specializing in office space, industrial, medical, dental, retail, basically everything but homes. You can find our company on Instagram at LKM Commercial. Me personally, on Instagram, I'm the Sober Builder, which we can get into a little further if you'd like. I try and have a presence on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn and Instagram are the social media where you'd find me.
Jason, I want to ask you, how did you get into the commercial space as opposed to the residential? Because I see a lot of people struggle with picking commercial over residential or doing both. How did you hone in or niche into the commercial space?
Commercial actually picked me. So when I graduated high school, I was dating a girl, and I had started to go to school to be a state police officer here in Pennsylvania. I had just signed up for college and was in my first semester, and she said to me, "Hey, we're going to my rich uncle's house for Christmas this year. He lived in the town that I did." I said, "What does he do?" And she said, "He's a commercial builder." And I said, I don't know what that means, but I look forward to meeting him. So we pulled up to his house on Christmas Eve, and it was a nice home in a cul-de-sac, and my eyes lit up. I need to learn more about this guy because I grew up on welfare and food stamps and living in apartment complexes with 3 other siblings in 1 bedroom. So I didn't really come from much. So I was intrigued by this guy. So I go in, I meet him. His name was Luke Miller. Right away, we hit it off. So we're talking in his foyer. I'm introducing myself. He's introducing himself. Come to find out, we grew up a couple blocks apart from one another. The girlfriend at the time, who I'm no longer with, she heads off to see the rest of the family. Him and I break off into the dining room, the formal dining room, where we stayed for about 2 hours. I did not interact with anybody except for him. We sat on his couch, and he told me what he did. I told him a little bit about myself. And at the end of those 2 hours, he actually said to me, "I could see you taking over my company one day." And I said, "You remind me of me, and I think you should work for me." And I said, "Well, I have another dream to be a state police officer, so I'm going to pursue that, but thank you." And he said, "Well, why don't you work for us on the weekends?" He said, I'll pay you cash, you can sweep up the jobs, kind of clean up. And that intrigued me. Again, I didn't come from anything, and I thought, okay, I'm going to college, I could use a couple extra bucks. So right after the new year, I started on a Saturday. They were building a 20,000 square foot building, 2 floors each, or 2 total floors. And his brother was there, who was an older guy and had since retired. But he was a real hard ass. And he said, "I don't know you, but I need this building cleaned out today." And I thought, okay, sir. I didn't know anything. I wasn't a construction kid. I wasn't a Legos kid, Lincoln Logs. I was an athlete. And and I wanted to be a state trooper. Knew nothing about construction. So they were drywalling the interior shell of the building, and there was drywall scraps everywhere. He said, I want this place cleaned up. So I said, okay. I did like fitness, so I thought, okay, at the very least, this is a nice opportunity to get a workout in and make a couple bucks. So I'm filling the trash barrel with the scraps of drywall, and I don't know how to break them to make them smaller, so they're sticking out of the trash can all wonky. I take the trash can out to the building, and I'm thinking, how am I getting this into this 30-yard dumpster? So I muscle that up, and drywall dust flies all over me, and choking. I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? But something inside me did enjoy the process. So I do like hard work. I do like doing hard things. And I took this as an opportunity. So put in my headphones, started to pick up the pace. And by lunchtime, I had the place cleaned up. And he came and checked on me and he looked around and in his kind of hard ass way was like, good job, kid. And that felt good. So I continued doing that for many Saturdays. And I said, and then I went into Luke's office. I said, look, I really enjoy this. I said, why don't I scale back going to college a couple days a week and work for you a couple days a week, which I did. I then liked it so much that I scaled back to going to school in the evenings and working with him during the day. Then I graduated. I got accepted to State Police Academy. I took the letter into his office. This was a couple years in by now. And I said, Luke, excuse me, I said, I'm out of here. I got my letter. I'm going. Well, sit down. So that conversation was about 20 minutes. And he was like, look, if you stay with me for 20 years, I'll sell you the company. 20 years at the time for a young kid in his early 20s seemed like a lifetime. And finally, I had found a North Star or a path to get to a level of success because I didn't have those people around me growing up. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to blindly follow this guy into the abyss. We had nothing in writing. I ripped up the letter, threw it, trash, shook his hand, and off we were. He said, work in the field for 2 more years, running some work. I'll bring you into the office. I'll teach you estimating and project management, and we'll put you on a path to ownership. And that's exactly what he did. A couple years later, I came in, learned estimating and project management. A couple years after that, he started to let me hire and fire, got me more involved in some of the C-suite type stuff, moved me to president and a vice president rather. And then I was in my late 30s, mid 30s. And I said, look, Luke, I had just gotten married. I said, we have nothing in writing. I've been following you blindly for this long. I need something in writing. And there were companies trying to poach me, and there were developers that were trying to partner with me saying, why are we hiring L.K. Miller to do our commercial construction? Why don't we just hire Jason, have him run a construction division? And frankly, all of the offers were better than what I was currently doing. But I thought, you know what? I'm a man of my word. I told him I was going to see this through, A. And B, if I can be like him in my 40s, that's far beyond what I ever thought I would be. So really long story, really short. 22 years into the company, I purchased the company from him. That was 3 years ago. I think tomorrow will mark my 3-year anniversary as the owner. So I'm 44. I've been here 25 years, and it's all I know at this point.
That's an incredible story. I would have never thought you came from living in welfare as a kid, didn't have a lot to start with. Because my impression was, you probably had some sort of support being the president of a company, but I stand corrected. This is pretty incredible. Awesome. That's very humbling. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask you, Jason, what kind of challenges did you face when you shifted to becoming an owner of this company as opposed to when you were, working with the previous owner? How big of a mindset shift as well as overall shift in terms of how you had to deal with the business? How did that go for you?
Sure, that's a good question. So a couple years prior to my ownership, I was pretty much running the place. He had purchased a home in Florida and was traveling a lot. And I was pretty much running the show to a degree. So he was in touch while in Florida. So I got a good lesson in kind of how to run it for a couple years. But it is a lot different when I sign my name on the dotted line and I shoulder all of the responsibility. It's a challenge that I welcomed. Again, I like doing hard things, so I did welcome this. I had checked with all of his employees to make sure they would come over seamlessly with me, and they all did. So we were, other than the owner himself leaving. So once I didn't initially make a mindset shift because I kind of thought, okay, more of the same, it's working. And I did that for a year. But something that really stuck out to me was that I also had 2 young children. So my son is now 5. My daughter will be 4 in June. So managing a new company, 2 new babies, and a marriage was tough. So I'm always looking to try and get better. And I thought, how can I kind of make a couple tweaks in my life that would help me along the way? This is a lot of responsibility. I have a lot of people that are relying on me. So something that I had really wanted to do for the last last few years before that, but decided it was to stop drinking. So rather than wake up on a Saturday or Sunday morning hungover with 2 little kids jumping in my bed, having to catch up on work, the anxiety that comes with that. So we're coming up on 2 years, 4 months or so. I was at my brother's house and I had what I wanted to be my last drink. I thought this is going to be it. And I had done dry January several times in the past, and February 1st, I was right back to it. And sometimes I can manage it and sometimes I couldn't. I certainly wasn't what someone would think of as a messy alcoholic, right? It was just, I wanted to be better. This no longer served me. Let me try and make a shift. Did dry January, felt fabulous, and thought, well, if I feel this good, why don't I continue and do dry February? February felt great. Well, why not do dry March? And I just started to kind of stack the days. And about 6 months in, I thought, I'm never going back. My life is too good as a result of this. I felt great. My relationship with my wife was great. I was always present with my children. I was always present and motivated, inspired, and at work. And all of that had just really helped pour gasoline on all of my relationships, my profession. Now I'm operating at 100% 24/7. So you pick up a lot more working hours in the day than you think. It's a lot different when it's 5 o'clock and all you want to do is shut it down and drink and be with your family. Well, now I come home sober. I hang with my family. My kids go to bed. I catch up on work. I have a morning routine that I do 7 days a week. So from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. is kind of my time. I have a sauna, an ice barrel. I have a gym at my house. I meditate. I read. I do all of this stuff to put on my mental armor for the day. Then I come inside and at 7 o'clock, I take care of the kids and I feed them breakfast and I get them dressed for school and then I take them to school. It's my most favorite, precious part of my day. So that's not stuff I'm willing to compromise. If I were to go back to drinking, I would start slipping here or there. I've obviously gotten more work because I'm functioning at my peak constantly. So there's been no downside for me. So mentality shift, I made a big one. That was the one major change.
I'm a father myself, so I struggle with that role.
It's hard to be a father, a business owner,
and a husband.
Yeah.
And a son.
And a role model for your community and a friend and a brother.
Yep. But it's all a matter of balance. I want to ask you about I don't know if I should call it niching down, but I've seen a lot of these projects on LinkedIn when you shared in your feed that you do medical practices, dental practices, feel like you're a go-to in that industry. How did that happen? How did you become the Jason of construction in that space?
It's just that I wasn't amplifying that on social media. So there was 3 low-hanging fruit for me. 1, we didn't have a website. I'll make a website. 2 is we didn't have any social media presence. So I will do that. 3, there was nobody kind of helping guide us forward, right? We were just blindly walking forward with no key performance markers, no goals financially. It was just work hard every day. And at the end of the year, pop your head up and see if you made any money. And that didn't work for me. So to your point, I thought, you know what, let me post more on LinkedIn, Instagram, and just let people know what I'm doing. And there's a lot of people that thought, oh, I didn't know that was you. And the other half was, good, you're finally putting it out there. So the dental world that's a good vertical for us. That's a network that is very tight knit. They are very referral based. If you have contacts, which I do in the brokerage community, the folks that help buy and sell those dental practices, the real estate associated with it, the equipment vendors, the data vendors. We have a strong network of everybody, including the dentist, but anyone a dentist would use. A broker to buy and sell real estate, again, buy and sell a business. Those folks we have a deep bench of those contacts. So all it takes is a couple and people start referring you out. Again, we had always been doing that, but no one kind of knew it. We would go in, we would knock out a $500,000 dental renovation, 3 months, shake hands, move on, and that was it. But me, again, I'm 44, so I'm young enough to be hip enough and know that social media is the way, but I'm also old enough to be established and have a good bit of resume under my belt. So I just started to kind of amplify that resume on social media. And it's been wonderful. My network has doubled, tripled since then. And it seems like at any given time, we're doing 4, 5, 6 dental projects.
Yeah, that's a fair amount. Anything commercial, whether it's roofing, construction, solar, most of these folks are on LinkedIn. And there's a study that I read a couple months ago that only 1% of LinkedIn actually puts out content, and 99% of LinkedIn consumes that content. So the gap is incredible. So if you're even doing basic posts like 5 times a week, you're way ahead of the curve than anyone else because most people aren't. And I'm glad that you make time for it, which is how you caught my attention too. In a meeting with a solar company this morning, and I was telling them that they wanted to do some networking and networking partnerships with us because we know a lot of roofers. And I was like, well, it's incredible how you can get people to work with you if you just put your name out there. That's all you got to do. And I was talking about you, that I met Jason on LinkedIn and he made a few referrals just off of pure introduction. Like, we don't even know each other. We never met. This is the first time that we're actually meeting face to face. And just by networking a little bit, you can do so much. So, and it helps everybody else. Like, it helps the community. It helps you. It helps anybody else that you're connected with. All it takes is a couple of emails, maybe a couple of messages. That's all it takes. You just got to be wanting to do it.
I agree. You have to want to put yourself out there. What's helpful for me is I equate the social media presence and the posting, whether rightfully or wrongfully, in my mind, to increased revenue. So I think to myself, the more I can post, the more I can let people know what we're up to, the more revenue will generate down the line. Can I exactly tell you there's a 1 + 1 = 2 benefit? I don't know. Because I connected with this individual, I got this project. Sure, there's a lot of that. But as a business owner, you have a responsibility to your entire team and the folks around you to plant these seeds, water these seeds, and eventually they'll germinate. And some of them won't, and that's okay, right? And it's cliche, but your network is your net worth. And the more you can grow your network, you have to lead with your giving hand, right? Also. So, for instance, we connected and right away, I look into what you do. The first thing I do when I connect with somebody, what does this person do and who in my network can help them? And then I make introductions and hopefully it grows from there. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I think that's the right thing to do, is extend with your giving hand, help others. For me, I like to send the elevator back down. Again, I was the guy who started pushing a broom. So I'm always looking to extend opportunity to others.
Yeah, that is wonderful. And I think the thing with networking is that it takes a little bit of time. It's kind of like a snowball effect, and people shy away from it because it takes time. But anything great takes time. The impression that people get when someone's successful is that, oh, well, you have all these projects going, you have all these connections, you have all this revenue and profits and whatnot, but they don't see the back picture of where it started or how it started to where they are now. That's the journey. So I'm glad you shared yours. I'll end with a couple of quick questions. One being, how do you manage your employees or your vendor relationships, partners? Because that's always a challenge. I struggle with that myself. Being a construction company, there's a lot of moving parts. You not only have to understand the customer's needs, but also you might use subcontractors, you might use your own employees. How do you manage?
Turn of the new year, I hired Sean Dill, who was a business coach of mine. One of his first questions was, what is your relationship plan? And I did not know what he meant. And I said, I don't have one. If someone comes to my mind when I'm on the T-ball field with my son coaching, or I'm working at my office, or I'm at the local coffee shop, I will reach out to that person, kind of see how they're doing, but there's no plan. So he helped me put together a plan. And what it is there's 90 people, 20 people, and 5 people. Or 90 people that you know and they know you. So you make that list of 90. Then there's 20, which is these are folks that are directly impacting my business. These are folks that if I keep in touch with them, my business will grow. And then there's the special 5, which are these 5 are the main business feeders. Think about your network and the 5 people that give you the most business. That's your special 5 that's in that group. And then what you do is, it's quite simple. I have a list right here off to the side of my desk. You just go down the list and you keep in touch with them. What would be helpful is if you learned about each of them, right? So somebody in your 90s, it was their daughter's birthday this past weekend, you ask about that. And that somebody's a big sports fan, you ask about their team. And you just keep in touch. And then you drop that person to the bottom of the list, and so on and so forth. And you touch on someone from that list every day. And it just helps keep you in front of mind and them in front of mind. Something that's very important to me.
So I was just saying that nurturing relationships and not just trying to hunt down new business is the way to do it, you would say?
Absolutely. So why spend all of that effort going out to get new business, sure, that's great. And if that comes, wonderful. But if you already have a sweet spot with a group of people that create repeat business, nurture those relationships.
One last question for you before we wrap this up. So if you were to give advice to a 20-year-old, mid 20-year-old who's starting, or maybe even a 30-year-old, doesn't matter the age group, they're just starting out. They don't have a girlfriend with an uncle that happened to have a construction business that they had an opportunity to work with. They're just brand new. They just want to start maybe a roofing business, a general construction business, on the commercial side, residential side, doesn't matter. What advice, give us maybe 3 pieces or 5 pieces of advice that you would give them if you were in their spot. How would they start their business? How would they get their first customer? And how would they grow it?
No, that's a good question. So if you have a goal in mind of the company you want to start, my recommendation would be to do it, especially while you're young. You have plenty of time to make mistakes. You have plenty of time to grow. Ideally, you would find somebody that's in the shoes that you want to be in. You would want to find your North Star. You might want to go to somebody and see if they'll mentor you. There's no need to blaze a brand new trail in life, in my opinion. There's plenty of trails to follow. You just have to put your ego aside and ask people, hey, how do I get to where you are? Please show me the way. And maybe that person isn't interested in that, and that's okay. You find someone else. That's if you have a specific goal in mind. If you're young and you don't have a specific goal in mind, and you just know, as I did as a kid, that you would love to be an entrepreneur one day, but don't know how to go about that, my recommendation would be to network, and network a lot. Right? There's young people in my life that I know that don't have any direction, and my advice to them is just network. Meet people, do as we did, introduce people, and I feel that if you do that long enough, a job will create itself. So either some of these people that you connect will offer you a job. I want to be a realtor. I'm connecting a lot of people buying and selling houses. I want to work in the IT department. I have all these IT relationships. So really think about who is in your life, how you can connect them with others, and just continually do that. Put yourself out there, meet new people, put yourself out on social media. And that's if you don't have a plan. If you do have a plan, lean into all that still while aiming at your goal of being a roofer, being a trash man, being an electrician, whatever it is. I hope that answered the question.
No, absolutely does. We're towards the end of the episode. I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the wisdom. Thanks for all the stories that you shared with us today, Jason. Again, Jason with LK Miller. You can find them online. I'll drop the links in the description of this video. And for those of you who have not yet subscribed to our channel, The Roofing Marketer, we bring on guests every week that do roofing, construction, solar, HVAC, plumbing, you name it. So feel free to subscribe to our channel. And if you like this episode, feel free to drop a like or a comment underneath. Ask any questions or ask any questions to Jason, if you will, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you so much once again. And Jason, we'll see you in another episode someday.
Sounds good. Thank you. My pleasure. Have a good day.